Please welcome filmmaker Carolyn Jones.
Thank you.
I am so happy, Carolyn, that you did this documentary, because I think anyone who spends time in a hospital dealing with illness realizes very quickly how incredibly important those nurses are and how hard they work and how underappreciated they are. What was this like, the process of making this film? Because obviously it came from a very personal place initially.
Well, it did. First of all, I was invited to do this project in 2011 by a company called Fresenius Kabi, and they came to me with the idea of making a book that would celebrate nurses. Well, I jumped on this opportunity because, as you saw, I had a nurse that really made a huge difference in my life and got me through chemotherapy. And she did it with an enormous amount of humor and irreverence, really, in the end.
And have you stayed in touch with her at all?
Well, I hadn't. I think that, you know, you get sick and you go through something like this, and frankly, you know, I wasn't going to pick up the phone and kind of kick around old times with her. All my memories they were disturbing. So when I had the opportunity to do this book, I realized I had a chance to thank her, and I hadn't ever really thanked her. So I started with her. I went to Joanne Staha at NYU, and I photographed her and interviewed her for the book project.
That's wonderful. And what was the difference between the care you got from doctors and the care you got from nurses?
That's a great question. You know, we need doctors, and I needed doctors for sure. I had an extraordinary surgeon, and I had a wonderful oncologist and a great radiologist, but they, you know, all of that work was very kind of scientific that they did with me, and it was all very cut and dry. But then when I was ready for chemotherapy, that was a very emotional experience. And Joanne, you know, nurses touch you and they guide you and they help you emotionally. So it was very, very powerful. And it was a team. I mean, it was absolutely a team that got me better, but the nurse got me through it.
And you went all around the country interviewing, how many nurses in all?
Over 110 at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that for this documentary, you focused specifically on 5 different nurses who all have very different jobs, and one of them is Naomi Cross. Tell us about Naomi and what her responsibilities are.
Okay, I wanted to go to Johns Hopkins Hospital because it's the it's voted the #1 hospital in the country. And so we went there to meet Naomi, who's a labor and delivery nurse. And so she brings babies into the world all day. And I really wanted to start the film with a birth, and I wanted you to understand with the film kind of the cycle of life. But sometimes babies don't make it, and so the other part of what Naomi does is perinatal bereavement, which is kind of an otherworldly thing to me. I can't imagine how you guide someone through losing a child.
That's very tough. Please welcome Naomi Cross. So happy you're here, Naomi. And as we heard Carolyn very eloquently describe your responsibilities, here you get the joyful experience of bringing babies into the world, but on the other side, sometimes it's not good news. Sometimes it's actually a tragedy for these families, and especially, I think, for the moms. And how are you able to help these moms in these situations, Naomi?
Well, at Johns Hopkins, we have a perinatal bereavement committee, and we have a program, and that program consists of supporting the mom and the family, including the father, and letting them know first that we're here for them.
I know that you've had such an impact on so many of your patients in good times and in bad times, and I know they're not always able to thank you, but one of your patients wanted to be here today, so Monica Jackson is here. She wanted to come say hi. Hi! Oh my gosh, look at her.
You are so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, Monica, sit down so everyone can see you and your beautiful baby. Oh my gosh, she is so cute. Who is this in your arms?
This is Nadia Simone. She's my daughter, and she's 6 months old, and we're in love with her.
Well, she's absolutely gorgeous, and I know obviously this is such a joyful thing that happened in your life, but it followed some pretty significant heartache for you. What happened, Monica?
So I was pregnant with a little boy in 2010, and I went for a routine exam, and they noticed that something was off, so they asked me to come back in 2 weeks. And when I came back, I was admitted right away that I was in labor, and Naomi was my nurse. And I delivered my son the next morning, and he was too young, so he didn't make it. And most of the time, people know when you're in the hospital, and it's intimidating. You know, you don't know what's going on, and everything happens so fast. So to have somebody who was kind of just calm there, listening to what my fears were and my concerns, in a situation where I really didn't know how to even advocate for myself, it was so important and so crucial.
And Naomi, have you been able to keep up with some of your patients? Have they been able to tell you how much you meant to them?
Yes, actually, part of our bereavement program is following up with women at a month, 6 months, 9 months, and at their anniversary for their loss. The other thing, though, is that we also have a perinatal bereavement ceremony every year, which Monica comes to. So it does help us develop a relationship. Sometimes patients don't reach out, but sometimes they call me and they say, I really regret not reaching out to you sooner or letting you follow up with me. And I want those people to know that we can help them. You're not alone. We're here to support you.
And I know that Monica, Naomi, was such a great nurse that you wanted to follow in her footsteps. So tell us about the work that you're doing now.
Well, we've talked about volunteering at the hospital with Naomi. Naomi is amazing, and she can't always be there, so it meant so much for me to have her support. I'd like to just be able to do that for somebody else.
Well, can I just say your baby is absolutely beautiful.
She's the most
Congratulations.
gorgeous thing you've ever seen.
And much happiness.
Thank you.
And Naomi, thank you so much for being here and for all you do every
Katie.
single day.
Thank you so much.
So